he just went low. He's in his head. He's in his head. He's open. His head wide open. Cracked open in the face.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Mario Man 2100 back again with another episode of How's My Team. So let's move on to the Wanderers. Alright, I relatively got to make this kind of quickly because it is WrestleMania weekend and it's going to start in about 10-15 minutes. But let's start with the Wanderers. So they ended up having a 2-2 draw with Melbourne City last night. Unfortunately, they were not able to get the win at home. Unfortunately, it is a situation where they were in front 2-0 for about the first 15-20 minutes. I think by the half an hour mark, I think Melbourne City did score one back, but did tie up in the last 10 minutes or so, 10-15 minutes, which kind of sucks. We thought we had a winning goal, but it was called offside, which is funny because it feels like with that call, it looks like it's the player that's in front, the defender, like Antonsen, that actually scores the goal, and not the player that's offside, which is what they called. It's very weird, unless it come off both of them, which I could understand if that was the case, why the offside call would be correct, because it's come off both players and one of those players was offside. But I swear it's a bit hard to see on the angles that obviously VAR we're going to have a look at, and VAR didn't really chip in unless it was on the actual official decision. Then they didn't really chip in at all to an offside call, which they can do, but they must have not had sufficient evidence to see in the angles whether it was off one player or another player or both players or what have you. But yeah, if it come off the player that was offside, I can understand that, and it was pretty close between the defender and the person that was offside as well. So I can give him a little bit of credence to that, a little bit of leeway, because it's a very close call. But they were attacking a lot in the first half. Melbourne City were very much on the offensive in the second half after being down 2-1 relatively late in the first half. So the Wanderers had opportunities to score. I didn't watch much of the game. I think I watched the last 25 minutes or so after I'd finished work. But it just couldn't break them. And it's alright, it is an extra point, which is fine. It keeps us in position for finals football, keeps Melbourne City in the race for the Premier's Plate as well, because Auckland, I believe, did win against Melbourne Victory, so they're in the hot seat rather, to win their first Premier's Plate in their first season. So. But obviously with the loss, Melbourne City, if they had lost, they would drop down and wouldn't have an opportunity at the Premier's Plate. And Auckland FC would do enough to be in front of them and win their first Premier's Plate. But unfortunately, since it's a draw, Melbourne City do get a point out of it as well. So I don't think we actually move positions. I don't believe. I think we do stay in third. I think, with obviously Melbourne Victory going down, and also West United going down against Adelaide on Friday night. So, yeah, interesting football this weekend. Yeah, but I mean we're in a good position. We're playing well. We still have like an 11 game undefeated streak at the moment. That's wins and draws. We haven't lost for a long while. Wouldn't mind if we do lose before the finals. That would be okay. If we do lose, because obviously we don't really want to lose, apart from possibly in the semis, in the finals, because the way that obviously the finals work, and I still think they still have this final series format, is that the semi-finals, not the grand final, the semi-final, is played in two legs. So it's not based on aggregate, obviously. It's whatever result you either get from the first game and the second game combined. Obviously, if it ends up being a draw at the end of it, I think obviously then it'll go to extra time, and then obviously it'll be sudden death at that point. So, but yeah, we're in a prime position to be in finals. Obviously, we have not been confirmed quite yet, but I think if we do get a win or two in the next few matches, I think we should be able to pull into finals, which is great. But we just need to keep momentum going at the pointy end of the season. And it's a good time that we're having this undefeated streak as well. Just in terms of form, it's been 11 games, decent amount of time. I've had a few people missing out of the team as well in that time. Some that haven't been firing nearly as often as others. But I think we're in a good state of mind leading into the finals and hopefully getting to the grand final. But we'll see, because that's obviously like 10, 11 weeks from now. But we'll see how we go. So let's move on to the other game that was played yesterday. And then we move on to my Giants. And unfortunately, the Giants went down by 18 points against the Adelaide Crows at Adelaide Oval. It was a very low-scoring game, and actually the total points in the game was 86 points. It was 52-34, so it was an 18-point loss. And I think it's just our goal scoring. I think there was a few factors. Obviously, I heard that umpiring. Obviously, there was some issues with umpiring. There was issues with weather as well. I would think with a total score of 86 points in the game, that like rain and wet weather probably affected things. But you can't score 4 goals 10 in total in terms of a game and win a game. 7 and 10 is not as bad. You can imagine that you could win a game like that, but yeah, just the fact that we just didn't score in front of goal. Only 3 behinds in the first quarter, a goal and 1 behind in the second, and then 1 goal 4 in the third, and then obviously doubling our goals to 4 and 2 behinds in the last quarter. It's just not feasible to win a game by only scoring 34 points. And I mean, to be fair, I'd say some of the defense, obviously, with Adelaide and the Giants, obviously Adelaide scored only 52 points this game as well. So the defenses, I think, were very paramount in this game in particular. I'd say it's probably tried and kept it in the middle of the field a lot of the time, and stopped scoring shots obviously happening for both sides. And the attack obviously didn't fire nearly as much for both sides as well as it has in previous weeks. So that keeps us in 4th at the moment. Obviously on percentage, we are in front of the Adelaide Crows, who do move up to 5th. Again, or actually, I believe they stay in 5th for now anyway, because I think Hawthorn and Geelong have still got to play on Monday. So that possibly could change. With Hawthorn winning, they will go up to 3rd and drop us to 5th. So that is the only result that could change things. Whereas Geelong have only got 12 points, so they'll be in 16. They'll be in 16 points, but their percentage, it depends on where we might sit. We might drop to 5th anyway if Geelong do win. Regardless, it just depends on their percentage. because they've got 131.3 and we've got 134.6 in terms of percentage. So they could jump us. We could drop to fifth anyway, with Geelong winning. But if either one of those teams win, they'll jump us. If they both draw somehow, if there's a draw, they'll both jump us anyway. We'll drop to sixth. But not a great result, obviously. I think our next game is against the Western Bulldogs, I think in Monaco Oval. It is. The Bulldogs have still got to play later today. So they could jump into top 8, I believe. Percentage, maybe, if they win decently. They might jump into the top 8 with Fremantle's loss. But yeah, pretty ordinary result, honestly, and I wish that they played better, but ultimately we can play better at Monaco Oval. But who knows? It's against the Western Bulldogs. We've had a history with them as well, most recently. So we'll see how we go. So now we move to football, and of course we're talking about Liverpool, and it was a 1-0 win over Leicester City, which does a couple of things. So ultimately, Arsenal did win against Ipswich Town 4-0, so they have actually held on to their slight chance of winning the league. But here are the stats. If Arsenal lose against Crystal Palace during the middle of the week, next week, Liverpool will become champions. If they do win against Crystal Palace, we have to win against Spurs to win the league next week. If not, if we can't get a win or a draw, if we get a draw or a loss against Tottenham Hotspurs next week, then it will go to the game against Arsenal the week after. So we could have potentially won the league today, early this morning, if we'd won and Ipswich Town had won against Arsenal. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But a 1-0 win against Leicester City for Liverpool, which also means that Leicester City is also been relegated out to the Championship from the Premier League next season. So they will drop down to the Championship. It's looking like it's possibly going to be Burnley, Leeds. Those two are pretty much confirmed. I think actually they get confirmed possibly either today or tonight. I think they play. So so they will most likely get promoted, or at least they're in the best chance to get promoted in this situation. But yeah, another win for Liverpool. Unfortunately, yes, we have not won the league quite yet, but it is what it is. Arsenal still got a chance, because obviously they won against Ipswich Town. Ipswich Town are fighting for their life right now, because unfortunately, despite Man United losing to Wolverhampton, I think it's a chance if West Ham do lose. I think they're the only team that could drop down under Ipswich Town if Ipswich Town can get out of the relegation zone now, which kind of sucks for them because it feels like they're probably going to be relegated as well. But yeah, 1-0 win over Leicester City. Apparently it was a decently tight game. Obviously, I don't think we 100% took Leicester City too seriously. And obviously gave a bit of a break to some of our players as well, give them a rest. I'm trying to make this quick because WrestleMania Sunday is going on / Monday, and the live stream's on right now. I just couldn't record beforehand, but yeah. So 1-0 win. Unfortunately, yes, that means that we go to next week. We're against Tottenham Hotspur, and hopefully we can get the win there. And if we do, we will have enough points to beat Arsenal to win the league with a few rounds to go. So yeah, going to be an interesting couple of weeks. Well, interesting week actually, because if they obviously Arsenal lose to Crystal Palace, then we win the league. If we win against Tottenham Hotspur, we win the league. But if not, then it goes down to the week after. So, yeah, we'll see how we go. And we're going to move on to the last team, obviously, that we need to talk about, which is the Gold Coast Titans. And now we move to the Gold Coast Titans, and unfortunately they lost at home again. They lost to the Raiders 30 points to 20. I will say that they did have a better game this week compared to last week. They definitely almost, like a few players did definitely put in an 80-minute performance, and especially when we had players out. Like we had late changes because Jaden Campbell ended up getting injured during the week, as did David Fafita. And yeah, we just chop and changed. We had Jojo Fafita come back in. We had Tommy Weaver. He was ready last week and was the extra reserve. Wasn't on the bench. He was the reserve just in case if there was like a head injury assessment that was sent out and we could use the extra reserve player. He was there, so obviously he's been ready to go. And he was playing, obviously filling in for Jaden Campbell. And I will say he probably was arguably our best player on the field in terms of attack. And that we did get to a 16-point lead in like the first 20 minutes. But I think that was more so the Raiders not being 100% switched on and taking us a little bit lightly. We let them back in. It was 16-all at halftime, and yeah, we didn't score. We scored one try after the halftime hooter in the second half, whereas they put 14 points on us. I will say there is a situation with our defense with some players that have not been up to snuff. I think Cleese Haas is definitely the one that I point out to, and I've commented in the Gold Coast Titans fan zone like group and stuff like that on Facebook and all that. It's just I hate singling out players for not playing well, because I know that a lot of fans in a lot of teams, but especially, and I see it in the Titans more so than most, but again, I'd say probably the Broncos would be like that, and the Roosters would be like that, and the Rabbits would be like that, and so on and so forth. But Cleese Haas, I think, was in 2 try-scoring defensive reads for against the Raiders and failed both of those. Involved in 2 tries that were scored against us, and also in a couple of plays that ended up having missed tackles and led to negative yardage for the Titans. And again, positive yardage for the Raiders and negative yardage against us. But I will say that they did put in a lot of effort at home. We did have a try disallowed as well. It's very unfortunate. It was a close call, but it was correct. But we had opportunities to score. We just couldn't break their defense in the end. We left it a little bit too late as well in terms of possession. But they played relatively well. But that's the type of loss. Like, it's a 10-point loss, which kind of sucks. But it is a situation where they were fighting in the game. It's not like they just switched off and said, no, we're not going to play. It drops us to 13th. Obviously, the Knights did lose yesterday as well, pretty convincingly to the Sharks. Panthers won as well. We've still got 1 game left. Obviously, that's the Eels game to go. So the Eels have got to play yet, and they play the Tigers today, this afternoon. So I think 13th is where we're going to be at the end of it, with a record of 2-4. We do go to North Queensland on Saturday. It's a Saturday mid-game to play the Cowboys. So we're playing in a Queensland derby away from home, and it's going to be interesting to see how we play, because right now the Canberra Raiders, the Cowboys are in 9th with the bye. They've come off 3 wins in a row. So it's going to be interesting to see how we can stack up against them. Hopefully we can play well and we get some players back. But I think David Fafita, I think, is out for like 4 weeks, and JC, Jaden Campbell, I think, is about the same as well. So it's one of those things where it's been unfortunate that we did lose against the Raiders, but we gave them a hell of a scare, especially at the start. But we'll see how we go. Ultimately, it could be, we play them again in a month's time. We play them just before my birthday in Canberra on the 18th, which is a Sunday, and that's the late Sunday game. That's the game that will be on free-to-air television. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting game next week. Hopefully we can come away with a win, because the Cowboys are around where we should be, honestly, because they've had some pretty bad losses, but they've had some pretty good wins as well. So it'll be interesting to see how we stack up, especially with the Cowboys losing a couple of players due to retirements, due to people moving to other teams, like Valentine Holmes, for example. So it's interesting to see how our squads will stack up against one another. But yeah, 10-point loss could be worse, but you lose at home, so it's not great. And yeah, we move on to next week. And that'll be it for this episode of How's My Team. I'm going to leave this outro a little bit shorter, or at least just normal length, just due to the fact that obviously WrestleMania is going on right now. Just had the triple threat match of Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair go. I'm not sure what the next match is, because they would have announced it while I'm recording this. So with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of How's My Team. This has been Mario Man 100. You guys have a great day or night, and of course, take care. I don't know what that wink was.